Hi, I'm Vila Loukas of the Emotional Radiance Academy and hearthhealing.net. I'm a certified healer and guide with the Modern Mystery School, and I'm bringing you this intro video series to help lay in the groundwork for some principles, some skills, some tips in how to be more masterful in your own inner emotional terrain. And the deal is, most of us kind of suck at this. The truth of the matter is, in our modern day world, it's so fast paced, we've got so much going on that we tend to ignore what's happening in that inner emotional terrain. And it causes all sorts of problems for us. And it's getting to be more and more intense. So the purpose of this Emotional Radiance Academy training is to help people like you have some better skills and practices to be living from a place of emotional radiance, experiencing the emotional world as one that's triumphant instead of one that is not. So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the relationship between the physical body and the emotions. So this is probably obvious to you. If you're somebody who's watching this video, you probably already know that there is a really strong correlation between the two. And the thing is, we want them to be in relationship with one another, but what we don't want is for them to get jumbled and enmeshed. When they're jumbled and enmeshed, it makes it very difficult for us to take the correct action to fix what might be going on or what might be off in either the emotional terrain or with the physical body. So as you've been hearing from me, if you watched any of the rest of this series yet, it's all about awareness. It's all about paying attention and understanding what's going on. And that is a skill, it's a practice, and it's something you can get really good at. So with this relationship between the physical body and the emotions, what we need to realize is just that when something's going on with one area, then it's causing some kind of response in the other area. And that's just how it is. And when we know what's causing what, then like I said, we can take the correct steps to shift what's going on according to what we want to have happen. So it empowers us. It makes us more masterful in navigating this inner terrain. So let's just give an example. So, you have some kind of physical stimulus that comes in. So let's say, you're at some kind of a sporting event, you're playing a sport, and you get knocked in the head, boom, on accident. And, it kind of shocks your physical body and you have a pain response. That is going to trigger an emotional reaction, an emotional response. And it will. It's not a matter of if it will, it will. And the question is, there's a whole spectrum of what kind of emotion that's going to trigger and how intense it is. It might be just a small emotional response like surprise or, kind of like shock, and not going into shock, but just that, more the emotional response of shock. It might trigger some fear. It might trigger some sadness, because pain often, will be connected to an experience of some level of sadness on an emotional level. So for most of us, we tend to be like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to feel that feeling. Just stuff it, suck it up. I'm playing a game. I can do it, be tough. That's all well and good, except that it doesn't change the fact that those emotions are there. And in order to have good, healthy experiences in that inner emotional terrain, it's important that those emotions get to be witnessed, acknowledged, and expressed. So that's really just a matter of time and a little bit of care and attention. Very simple to help those emotions get their airtime. So when we don't give them their airtime, then we end up feeding into this kind of cycle of negativity that can happen, where then, the emotions are there and they're kind of just hanging out in that emotional atmosphere and weighing it down. And so now we've got the physical pain where we don't feel good, from the accident that happened, and then we got these emotions that are also helping us not feel good, and they exacerbate one another. So we might feel more pain. We might start feeling pain in a different area of the physical body because those emotions aren't getting expressed and acknowledged. So not particularly helpful, and potentially, amplifying and getting worse over time. And then we end up with a bigger issue to have to deal with. If we have the awareness that this is what's going on, then we can say, oh, okay, so you know what, I'm feeling these feelings, and it's time for me to just do something kind for myself, or maybe I need to talk to somebody about it, or maybe I just need to go take a bath, or maybe I need a hug, or maybe I want to, I don't know, cuddle with my partner and just feel held for a little bit. And then that's going to help the emotions have the time and space they need. And then you can address what's happening on the physical and allow yourself to get back to that green zone. So that's the physical to the emotional. Now, the opposite happens for us as well, right? Where we'll have some kind of emotional stimulus that then can cause the physical pain or tension or discomfort in some way. So an example of that might be you're on your way to work, maybe you're taking the bus, something like this. You're going about your day, and you're on Facebook, you scroll through your feed, and you get some kind of information that's disturbing. A friend of the family had some kind of an accident. The daughter was in hit by a drunk driver, something like this. Disturbing. And so perhaps you have an emotional response or reaction to that, but you don't have the time or bandwidth to deal with it in that moment. So you kind of just let it be and like, oh, okay, we'll deal with you later. And you go on with your day. Well, then you show up at work, and, you've got a new project going on, something happens, and like you find yourself, even more triggered, and they kind of, these emotions start to build. And then by about lunchtime, you're finding that you feel like, oh, I have this weird nausea going on, or I'm starting to feel, this tension in my gut, or, starting to get a headache. That's a result of the emotions that aren't getting their care and attention. So those negative emotions need to be given their space so that they get to go on with what they're there to do, which is to help you understand, like, that's really disturbing. And maybe what I really need to do is take some time to call my friends and see how they're doing. Or, there's some action for me to take to help work with what the emotions are telling me. So if we don't do that, like I said, then it can start to build some of that physical tension that then will feed back into the emotional response and reaction. And then we get into that cycle of negativity between the physical body and the emotions. So the same is true, that relationship from the negative perspective, which I just described, but also from the positive perspective. So in the video where I talked about emotions and movement, I referenced the physical body and how moving the physical body can make a huge difference in how you're feeling emotionally. So when we take positive actions at the physical level, it will really shift and support what's going on in the emotional level as well. So I hope this helps. The point really is to motivate you to bring that light of awareness to what's happening for you and in this relationship, so that it doesn't end up getting worse than it needs to be. The emotions can do their job, which is to tell you something important, and the physical body can do its job, which is to allow you to experience day-to-day life in this physical world, and that the two can be working harmoniously together. And you can feel triumphant and masterful in your own inner emotional terrain. I hope you found this helpful. There's a lot more where this comes from. Please check out the rest of the series and head over to my website, hearthhealing.net, to get more of the Emotional Radiance Academy training. Until then, here's to emotional radiance for all.